open verdict is what we're being told. The jury have now reached an open verdict in this case. Now, the jury had been given two options. That was lawful killing or an open verdict. Lawful killing if they were convinced that the police had felt there was an imminent threat to themselves and that they acted with reasonable force. But the jury decided that that hadn't been proved and that it was indeed an open verdict. Now on to the questions. Key questions here. Did Jean Charles de Menezes, as the police maintain, stand up out of his seat in the carriage? Well, the jury in this instance say they don't agree with the police version of events. They said he did not stand up in the carriage. They believed the passengers. The other questions on points of evidence here are questions about whether Jean Charles de Menezes, once he got up of his seat, as the police claim, then moved towards the officers. Now, this was key because the armed officers who got onto that carriage said that they had taken the decision to shoot Jean Charles de Menezes because he moved towards them, closed them down. Well, they have said that yes is the answer to that, that Jean Charles de Menezes had moved towards them. Can't quite understand how that would be so if he didn't get up off his seat in order to move towards them. The question 3 is again being asked whether Jean Charles de Menezes moved towards the officers before he was grabbed in a bear hug by Officer Ivor. That question, we're told, is no, that Jean Charles de Menezes didn't move forward towards those officers. So apologies for a slight mix-up in the questions. The first one should have been whether Jean Charles de Menezes shouted, or the police shouted at him, armed police. The officers have said no, that he didn't shout armed police. They do believe, though, in question 2, that Jean Charles de Menezes did stand up from his seat, but that no, he didn't move forward towards the officers in that train carriage. C12, Charlie 12, one of the firearms officers, said it was important, this whole aspect of Jean Charles standing up from his seat and moving towards them in determining his course of action. He said that he probably wouldn't have taken the decision to open fire had Jean Charles not moved towards him. And he suggested, in essence, closing him down. He felt that was could have been construed as a threatening move. He said he couldn't understand why, in shouting armed police to this man, he continued to move towards him. But as we hear now from the questions coming through from the jury, they don't believe that Jean Charles de Menezes moved towards him. They say he did stand up from his seat, and they don't believe the police version of events that they shouted armed police.
So, Mark, what reaction are we likely to get from Jean Charles de Menezes' family? Because, of course, they were upset, weren't they, that the coroner limited the options of the jury, that they could only return this, the open verdict they have returned, or a verdict of lawful killing?
Yeah, well, we can reveal that the family of Jean Charles de Menezes have withdrawn from this inquest and branded the outcome of this inquest a whitewash. They say that they wanted the jury here to be given the option of returning a verdict of unlawful killing. Now, the coroner here, Sir Michael Wright, ruled that out, said that he would not allow unlawful killing. One, because there just wasn't the evidence to prove that the officers did something so seriously criminal that it amounted to either murder or manslaughter. There's a higher threshold there. Also, he said, inquests are not about apportioning blame on any individual. They're about establishing the facts that led to someone's death. So that's why, as we know who the officers were that killed Jean Charles de Menezes, they decided not, or the coroner decided not to allow them to return that unlawful killing verdict. That resulted in the family withdrawing from the inquest. They withdrew their legal team, and actually there was a standoff in the court when this was announced over a week ago. And they went to the High Court. They wanted to try to overturn that decision by the coroner, also to get what they call a sweep-up question, which would allow the inquest jury to put their own thoughts down about what they thought of the police actions on that day. That was rejected at the High Court. That then resulted in the family branding this a whitewash, supporters of them for 2 or 3 hours refusing to leave the courtroom here at the Oval. The jury couldn't be brought back in to be sent out to deliberate on their verdict. It was really quite a dramatic day of goings-on at the Oval here, but we've not been able to report that until now.